Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedom and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country. In the courtrooms of America, Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedom.
4 states are now resisting the federal government's effort to push same-sex marriage and benefits through the military. I am Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel. Joining me is Matt Barber, vice president of Liberty Counsel Action. Matt, after the Supreme Court decided this decision on June 26, 2013, regarding the Federal Defense of Marriage Act, the United States has been hit with an onslaught of activism from this Obama administration through the Department of Labor, through the Department of Defense, now working on other agencies as well. But one of them is to force people in all the different states, whether they're in a state or not that has a marriage amendment, to recognize a same-sex marriage or the benefits associated with it, even though that state does not recognize same-sex marriage. Some states are capitulating, but some states are standing up and pushing back.
Well, and they should. They have the law behind them. And there's one word that describes on so many levels this Obama administration, but particularly as it pertains to this counterfeit marriage topic, and that word is lawlessness. And this Obama administration, after this 5-4 decision to find that for federal purposes, the federal government will recognize in the states that recognize same-sex marriage, they will recognize same-sex marriage. Well, President Obama said, no, we're gonna run roughshod over all 50 states, and even though we don't have the authority to do this, and it still violates Section 2 of the Defense of Marriage Act, which is alive and well, at least for now, we're going to just do what we want to do because we want to do it. Well, there are some gutsy governors like Mary Fallin in Oklahoma who are saying, not so fast, Mr. Lawless President. We're going to adhere to the law in the state of Oklahoma, and we are not going to capitulate and cave to your intimidation tactics.
Yes, Governor Mary Fallin said that the state's National Guard should stop processing benefit requests for same-sex couples, which now adds Oklahoma to 3 other states. It includes Texas, Mississippi, and Louisiana. These are 4 states now that have gone against the federal directive requiring agencies to grant legally married same-sex couples the benefits any married couple would receive. And this Obama administration is saying it doesn't matter if they got a marriage license, say, for example, in Massachusetts, that recognizes same-sex marriage, and now they're in Virginia or Oklahoma or Texas, which have marriage amendments. Those states still have to recognize it, at least through the military. And these 4 states say, no, our voters went to the polls and they have affirmed overwhelmingly marriage as the union of one man and one woman. And the federal government, you're not going to bully us into violating our own law. So here we have this clash between the state and the federal governments again under this Obama administration.
Yeah, this is just another case in point. You know, this president is a radical homosexualist, and that is to say a person who supports every demand of the homosexual activist agenda, whether or not they themselves identify as gay or lesbian. And, you know, Andrew Sullivan, who is a homosexual activist, he dubbed President Obama the first gay president, much like you may recall Bill Clinton was dubbed the first black president because of some of his political activities, because this president is so radical in his pushing of the homosexual activist socio-political agenda. He's been dubbed the first gay president, and this is just another instance that bears out that reality.
Well, in fact, what we have here is Governor Fallin has stopped a directive from the National Guard. National Guard had already in Oklahoma said that they're going to recognize same-sex marriage benefits. Well, not so fast, she said. We're not going to do that, and that's not going to happen in any National Guard facility. And in fact, Texas, in the Texas military forces, decided not to accept the benefits applications from homosexual troops, and Oklahoma says the same thing. You're going to have to find a federal facility, but you're not going to do it on a state National Guard facility. So these states have all the right to be able to resist it. The federal government can't just simply, through directive from an agency, override the individual states, particularly those that have these constitutional amendments and marriage laws.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand how the National Guard works. I was privileged to serve 12 years myself in the Army National Guard. The National Guard kind of has a dual purpose. It has dual leadership and dual direction through both the federal government and the state governments. It's under the direct supervision and authority of the governors of every given state. So it is a state entity, as well as when in times of war and so forth, then it can be activated as a federal entity as well. But the National Guard essentially is a state entity. So this federal pushing and recognizing same-sex marriage, even on federal military bases around the country and so forth, clearly that should only apply, if at all, to federal bases in states that currently recognize same-sex marriage, 13 states across the country. But this Obama administration, again, is going to violate still the letter of the Defense of Marriage Act and the spirit of the Defense of Marriage Act and do what he wants to. I'm really proud of Governor Fallin and of these other governors, and I hope that more will stand up and push back against this bullying.
Well, you have some other interesting things happening, too. For example, in Louisiana, the state will not recognize on the state tax forms or on the other tax forms individuals to file as married couples because Louisiana, in fact, passed a constitutional marriage amendment in the high 70%, like almost 79%. It was very high. They're not going to allow that. Well, now the IRS says that for same-sex couples that are married in a particular state, you can't file independently. You requires that the same filing. It requires that that they file jointly. That you can't file independently. So the federal government now is saying you got to file jointly. And Louisiana's saying you can't file jointly. You've got to file independently. So now again you're having these other clashes. One of the things I've not ever quite seen before, as we've seen it under this administration, is this persistent clash of the federal government with states' rights and individual rights. We've seen that from the very beginning of the Obama administration. We see it in the marriage issue. We see it in the Obamacare. We had so many states come out against Obamacare. You're seeing this in this unprecedented clash of religious freedom on the forced funding of abortion. This is the most ideologically driven administration in history, and they disregard the rule of law to drive home this ideological, divisive agenda.
Well, and they disregard the Constitution, and clearly this president has displayed disdain for just about every amendment of the United States Constitution, unless he can twist it to somehow push his agenda. This president doesn't believe that there's such a thing as a 10th Amendment, that states have any rights whatsoever. He believes that he's a dictator, that he's ruling, and that he doesn't even have to go through Congress, and there should be no checks and balances. He can just arbitrarily and unilaterally come down with some edict, and when he says jump, the states are supposed to say how high, and I wish that there were more governors that were courageous enough to put this man back in his place.
Well, he has certainly divided America. Even when he speaks on issues, he always says to the people on my left and the people on my right, he's not a uniter, he's a divider, and he pushes this ideological agenda because he thinks that the Congress and the normal process is really beneath him. Well, on this issue, I'm glad to see that he's getting pushback, and I encourage the governors of Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi for standing up, and I encourage other governors as well. I encourage you to contact your governor to find out what's happening in your state. Is your governor capitulating to this Obama administration and allowing state National Guards and their agencies and facilities to be used for places to advance same-sex marriage? If so, push back on your state level and give them the example of these 4 states that are standing firm. Go to Liberty Counsel's website. You'll find a lot of information there on this and other issues. Some of the topics include the book by Dr. Judith Reisman that's available, Sacred Honor and Stolen Innocence. She has a book that is written regarding the onslaught of the sexual revolution to children, Stolen Honor, Stolen Innocence. And that particular book is available at Liberty Counsel's website, lc.org. You can also order our Patriots Handbook series, which has the Constitution and many other booklets along with that particular series, one on religious liberty, one on the Second Amendment, one on Israel as well, and more. Go to Liberty Counsel's website, lc.org, sign up for our Liberty Alert email and our other emails right there on the website. And remember to pray for Liberty Counsel and to continue to financially support this ministry to advance religious life.
Listening to Faith and Freedom with Liberty Counsel. We hope that we have motivated you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedom. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email updates. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.